Welcome to the Tennishackery podcast. This is the place where we discuss all things about tennis related to the fundamentals, fitness, and the mind game. My name is Tarun, and today we have Soham and our rockstar coach, Craig Lazarchik. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Good evening, Tarun. Good evening,
Hi.
Soham.
Good evening,
Great.
guys. Good to see you
Yes.
guys on a Friday night. This is
Yep.
our party right here.
This is it.
Yep.
Not much, no much, wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So
Oh, yes, absolutely. So to go on with the marketing spiel, so at Tennishackery is our social media handle, and you can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram. All our podcasts in the video format gets uploaded to YouTube channel, and the audio version goes to Spotify. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, and leave us reviews. It really helps us grow and direct our efforts into content based on your feedback. Again, at Tennishackery with a Y is our social media handle. All right, we are on episode 14, and it's one of our favorite topics, which is, getting towards the end of the year. And this is about the tennis ratings, specifically the NTRP ratings, which applies to the adult rec tennis players in the United States. So being, we are right now in mid-November. The ratings come out end of November, and I think it's like there's a lot of excitement, and a lot of folks are, especially the captains, are watching out for these ratings. So before we start, a deep dive into the topic, let me ask Craig. I heard of something, a term that he mentioned. So I want to ask him to elaborate on that. So Craig, please tell me what in the name of good Lord is a ratings party?
though I've never been, they live in tennis folklore. Apparently people do get together, teams of people, whether that's your little micro tennis universe or your team or your little friendly group. And I mean, literally ratings come out on a specific date, and it's like the first Sunday night in December. So whatever, I'm not sure what that falls on this year, the second, third, fourth. And they come out literally at like a 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and they get published. So the page refreshes. 1 minute you're a burgeoning 3-5, innocent, happy. Next thing, you hit the refresh button, and 1 minute later you're a bump up 4-0, and you're like, oh no, the
No.
pressure. It's always what I wanted, but now,
Yep.
oh man, how am I going to win at 4-0? And people have parties for this, and I'm sure they're awesome. And it's the good, bad, and the ugly, because
Yep.
the story of the 3-5 getting bumped up to 4-0 is working just the opposite direction, or you stay level, and those things might be disappointing to some people as
Yep.
well. So,
Yep.
and apparently people celebrate this every year. So
Yep.
that's our lovely USTA group rating party, apparently.
Yes. Yep. It's fun. It's a fun time of the year. So Soham, so what are your thoughts? I mean, should we do we want to give people a primer on what these ratings are for the uninitiated?
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
there is a general level of uncertainty as to how ratings actually work at a microscopic level. So we can only speculate. We disclaimer here, I don't think either of us know exactly how the algorithm works because it's hidden from us. So like I tell all you guys, you just get on court, do your best, have fun, compete, and just try to win a match, right? Don't
Yep.
worry about ratings. Don't worry about who you're playing. Don't worry about your own rating. So that's what it really boils down to. And as far as the definition of rating is concerned, so obviously there are different types of rating that we are all aware of, right? In this tennis community, there's obviously the USTA NTRP rating, which is 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. And there are also other ratings like UTR, which is very common with juniors. And now there's an emerging rating called the WTN through the USTA. So there are various different kinds.
Yep.
But for the purposes of our primarily for this podcast, we're going to talk about NTRP ratings. So there are several designations this rating, there is something called a self rate for newcomers into the rating system who have to fill in a form. If you have played tennis, if you have played high school or college level, or some sort of questionnaire that they have to fill in to get into the system, and then a rating is given for first timers, like a self rating, which is symbol S. Then and then you play a season, and after a season, if you've played a sufficient number of matches, sufficient being the operative keyword here, you end up getting a computer rating, which is a C rating at the year end based on your results for the year.
Yeah.
Now, that's if you are playing league matches. Now, there's also a rating called a mixed rating, which is M, which is if you're only playing only the mixed season and nothing else, the year end and if you played again sufficient number of matches for the USTA committee to give you that rating, you'll get a mixed rating at the end of the year. So now we have the self rating, the computer rating, which is the year end rating, the mixed rating. There's also T rating T, which is tournament rating. That's only if you play tournaments and you don't play league tennis, right? So there is a rating T. Then there is also appeal, which is rating A. There are instances where people appeal up, appeal down, because, why would somebody appeal down? Is because they feel like they're a better fit for that specific NTRP level. So a 4-5 can appeal down to 4-0, probably with the intent of having a higher chance of winning matches and feeling really good about themselves that they're the best of the 4-0 group, and you have some sort of an advantage. So maybe it's for their ego. I don't know what it is, but I've seen many people who bump themselves down to play at a lower rating.
But they want to go into nationals, right? They form groups like
that's right.
Groups. They want to go.
We'll definitely talk about recruitment, how all this comes into is important in terms of recruitment for captains and forming teams. I just want to finish off on the ratings though. And of course, there is appeal up. Some people appeal up for various reasons, because they want to challenge themselves at a higher level, which is perfectly respectable. And which is fantastic, but it might limit them, because of 4-5 appealing to 5-0 means they actually get to play less. Sometimes 4-5 for that person may be a good rating because they can play 4-5 and they can play 5-0. And then there is another rating, which is a D, which is dynamic. Somebody gets dynamically disqualified because they're too good for their level. They get struck out 3 times because their results look suspicious. And there have been instances where people have gotten bumped up mid-season. Captains get furious. Some people appeal. It can get messy, but that's how it is. And I feel that's a fair way to go about it. If there's somebody who is too good at that level and they're clearly, winning very easily, it's kind of unfair for them to stay at that particular level. And I think I think this applies to self-rated people. Generally, I don't see computer-rated people be dynamic, right? So that covers all the rating types as far as I'm concerned. And I hope listeners here, a little bit more familiar. Now, again, I must reiterate, we are not fully aware of how the algorithm actually works throughout the year to give you that year-end rating. We have a hunch, perhaps, on how things work at a lower level, or microscopic level, or whatever, based on dynamic ratings. And I want to ask Craig, dynamic ratings are a thing. They're available unofficially on certain sites. What is your opinion about dynamic ratings, how they work? Do you know how they work? Do you care about do you really care about dynamic ratings? And do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, and just to be clear, because there's with the D rating for the types of ratings that are out there provided by the USTA through their NTRP platform, the dynamic DQ rating, that's not what we're talking about here with what Soham is saying. It's the dynamic rating um, uh, is more of your maybe your current standing for the USTA recreational
Right.
player. So their trend, where they're headed, whether it's up or down. What you see, what you get assigned when we talk about this date in early December is a static rating that the
Yeah.
USTA provides that we just said we really don't know the algorithm. We're not sure how it gets measured and how we have an idea. They do not relinquish it. So other sites do. And those are the ones that we're talking about. And I think it's quite popular, Soham and Tarun. It's like watching Desperate Housewives or something like that, where nobody said, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I've heard of that." What Desperate Housewives of Beverly Hills? No, there's like Atlanta and DC and what blah blah blah. But I've never seen Jennifer and Bel Air. Oh, what? No, whoops. Oh, sorry, did I spill the beans there? So everybody looks at a couple of these sites, and whether you're a really good player at a high level or you're a burgeoning beginner and you find out about it, you're going to look. And I think it's a good thing to know where you're trending, know where you are. It would be better though to know if it's real or not. And I think
Right.
that's kind of what we're here to discuss and dive into. And not that we're all NCIS and forensic experts, but for tennis, this is why we're here, right? We take it seriously. We provide Tarun, we call it like the wholesome tennis platform here.
Yes.
But we want it to be sincere and real. And some of the events we play in, the teams are on, there's genuine feelings of love for your brother and sister and the tennis universe. And those things may not be measurable, but they are
Right.
tangible and you
Right.
can feel them. USTA says we measure your wins and your losses, and they're weighted and they're not weighted, and we weight this, but we don't weight that, which we'll get into, I'm sure, soon. But we're not going to tell you how we do it. And it's like, well, okay, so we're
Yeah.
just supposed to trust that and do that? I guess so.
Yeah.
So, but there are sites that give you the dynamic rating to get back to that point. And I think most people are interested and they do look and peek, under that cover.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. And UTR does a nice trending one that I think I at least like, because you can go out
Yeah.
and prove your worth. And if you lose 5 out of 6 matches, it's going to reflect that. If you go out and win 5 out of 6 matches, your trend will reflect that. And it's pretty evident. Now, I don't need to know all their algorithms to know that if I win 5 out of 6 matches, I'm improving. If I lose 5 out of 6, I'm declining. I kind of get that. I don't need to know their machinations for 100th or 1,000th of a point. But in
Yes.
USTA, when it's static and all year long for 12 months, there's got I only play maybe 10 to 15 matches a year, maybe most. I mean, there's men and women out there who play. I mean, we all know them. They play 80, 90. Did Soham, would somebody we know play 100 plus matches this year? And they don't necessarily know where they stand. I mean,
Yeah.
that's absurd.
I
So
think
I think there needs to be a better helpfulness from the algorithm
Right.
and the company to help us tennis players who are passionate
Yeah.
about this to have a better effort on the dynamic rating for sure.
Yeah.
Because there is a demand to answer your question. Yes, it's interesting to the majority of tennis players, I think, in Northern California and probably throughout the states.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
I
So
agree. I agree. And one quick no, I would like to add, Craig, that's fantastic, great information, and I agree with what all you said. At the end of the day, I still feel as much as there is an interest to know every single match, okay, what's the delta? How much did I improve by because of my result? I keep stressing to people that don't don't uh, don't analyze your performance from match to match, because what happens is, I know certain people who get too hung up on ratings.
Yeah.
It is not very helpful. People need to focus on their growth. They need to understand where they can improve on. And at the end of the day, at least for me, is more fulfilling to know that I have grown in a calendar year from all the matches I played. It's more helpful and productive to know that I've grown as a tennis player and I've worked on certain areas to improve my tennis than be worried about, oh, I didn't get bumped up to 5-0. Well, there is a reason somebody didn't get bumped up to 5-0, for example, from 4-5, because maybe they played 200 matches that year. I'm exaggerating here. And they went 75 and, I don't know, 100 and 100, like 50% win rate.
Right.
You have to be smart, right? You don't want to burn yourself out. If your objective is to get to a higher level, I think people, instead of overanalyzing their dynamic rating and all of that, they really need to focus on actual improvement on the tennis court.
That's it. Yeah. Moving on. So, just to explain the mechanics of the rating is actually pretty historical. So what I have heard is that this is based on ELO ratings from chess. So where basically what happens is people are at different skill levels, and the algorithm predicts a score, a higher skill versus a lower skill, and obviously the higher skill level, it predicts that the higher skill level will win by a certain margin, and the actual result, if it's any different, then it proportions the points appropriately, so that if the lower skill player wins, they get more points and they get to gain more. So I mean, this is the general idea of all these ratings algorithms, I believe, whether it's UTR, WTN, or even the NTRP dynamic rating. And yes, of course, like what Craig excellently mentioned about, the NTRP is right now a static system, but there is a dynamic component to it, to the 100th decimal. So yeah, and we will include some details that we know of, and credible sources. We will include them in the show notes. Right. Moving on, singles versus doubles. So Craig, do you think there is an element where uh, if you want to go ahead in the ratings quickly, or if you want to progress faster, singles is the way to go? Do you know of, I mean, how these rating systems treats, especially the NTRP system treats singles versus doubles?
Yeah, I mean, just based on what we know, what we think we know.
Yeah.
Based on what we think we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. If what Soham says is true, then if you're betting on yourself, then
Right.
if you go out and if you're a 4.57 and you go out and beat a 4.83 in singles,
Mhm.
that's a wrap.
Yep.
You're gonna move up. If it's doubles, then there's an added layer of the algorithm that comes into play, and maybe that's going to depend on your partner. And I think we've talked about this in pre-production and so forth, where if you're playing with a lower level player and you beat two higher level players, then yes, possibly that's going to give you that added juice, that added bump up.
Hmm.
That's what we think.
Right.
Again, do we really know that? And if we
Yeah.
do trust that is the case, then yes, then I would debate, or I would go ahead and say for sure, then playing singles is your best avenue,
Right.
to do that in. But Tarun and Soham and I, our counterpart Alex, we work with a lot of juniors, a lot of singles players. That's fine. USTA NorCal, and what we see, and I'll do the numbers on this at some point in the near future. Now that I wish I had them now, but I would say it's predominantly doubles.
Yeah.
And when I say predominantly, I just mean it's definitely over 50%. I don't know what the number is. Is it 62? Is it 75? Is it 82? I'm not sure. but there's a number where doubles definitely is more popular and more played than singles, whether that's the structure of the USTA leagues or that's the popularity of doubles, it's age, athleticism, all those things wrapped up in one. It's easier people have more fun playing doubles, all those things we know about the tennis universe. But I think singles is the easiest way, but doubles is the more popular way now, right, for these USTA recreational leagues that we're talking about between 2-5 and 5-5. And as a matter of fact, 2-5 doesn't even have, they're all doubles for the most part. 2-5 and 5-5, ironically, have the least places to play, and they're on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's true. All of really who we're talking about, it's that 3-0 to 4-5 and 5-0 level, where the meat and potato, 85% of that participation, and that's where the main weight of the algorithm lies, I think, is affecting those players. So that's I think where the meat and potatoes lie.
Yes. So Soham and I have had debates on this. So what Craig mentioned is very true, where singles probably moves the rating the most. The USTA ratings website does say that the doubles result affects is attributed to both the partners equally. So that's kind of a bit of open to interpretation. So Soham, what are your thoughts? So my thinking was always that whether the partners are like of different, they fall under different bands within the same range. Like one is a 4.01 and the other is a 4.4. If they beat, say, two players rated 4.3, combined of 4.3 plus 4.3, my understanding based on my interpretation was always that the points get split equally, so both benefit. But I think there is some speculation saying that it benefits the stronger player more, right?
I mean, it's again, we are not exactly sure of how all this works, right? So again, it's mostly speculation, but from my observation on third-party websites, from the dynamic rating, match dynamic, and the result of the match affecting the final rating post-match of each of the individuals based on the result, tells me that when a higher rated player plays with a lower rated player in doubles against two average rated players, so for example, if a high 4-5 rated player plays with a low 4-5 rated player against two average 4-5 players, and the team with the high 4-5 and the team who has the highest rated player amongst the four and the lowest rated player amongst the four in the doubles match, if they win the match in, say, straight sets, that actually benefits the highest rated player the most of the group, because they are supporting or carrying, quote unquote, a lower rated player to victory. And that's my interpretation based on, it's not even my interpretation, it's actually my observation based on what I see. So oftentimes I have seen some people prefer to partner someone who is not very high rated.
Interesting.
Because they believe they have the chemistry, which sometimes plays more of a role in winning matches, for example, in doubles. Doubles is very different to singles. Now, again, it's speculation. What I did want to say to an earlier point was, there is a regular season that happens, right? Then there is some teams that make it to the next stage, which is the playoffs.
Right.
Then if you win the playoff matches, then you move on to districts or sectionals. And then if you win that, then you move on to nationals. So each of these phases of the season has a different weightage given to the ratings per my understanding again. So the regular season is weighted. So the nationals is weighted the most because you're basically playing against the top players in the country. It has the highest rating, singles or doubles. Then sectionals is the next highest weightage. Then comes playoffs and then the regular season. So in a sense, if you win at nationals, singles or doubles, your result counts more in terms of weighting for your year-end rating.
So, Soham, a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you think that affects the people that you played in your local league? So do you think that if Sunnyvale, Northern California goes on to win their 4-5 section, all right, good for them. They go to nationals, they win nationals. Anybody in Sunnyvale's local league, does that kind of boost their, if they had a win over somebody in Sunnyvale on that national team, if they competed against them and did well, does that help them, or is it just for the players who go to nationals on that team?
Great question. Based on my understanding, again, like I keep saying, speculation.
If we think all this is true.
Yeah. So I'm gonna now that's a default statement, right? So it definitely helps. So if you let's take an example of, you played singles during the regular season. A singles player played against another singles player who happened to be on the national winning team eventually at the end of the season. When they compute the ratings, they're going to give quite a high weightage to that win because you played against a player who went nationals. Mm-hmm. That does not show up during the season. Because at that beginning of the season, you don't know that team is going to nationals or winning nationals. So the dynamic from that particular match early on in the season is just how it should be, like a regular. But from what I know, they may look at the results at the end and see, okay, so person A played person B went and won nationals, person A literally never qualified for the playoffs or sectionals, right? But maybe that player, person A, is the best player on that team that never made it. Mm-hmm. So they're potentially going to give brownie points to that person. Brownie points meaning higher rating. So, and I have seen that happen based on observation.
I see.
That there are certain people that I know who were easily the best players on that team. They just happened to be on a bad team. But because they played singles and they won against good players, they get bumped up. And it makes sense. Like, there are certain people on the national winning team who are not going to get bumped up because, there is a theory that the USTA likes to balance things out. So you can't have 50 people move up and 0% of the people move down. That's completely changing the shape of the distribution. And I don't
player pool in each bin. Yeah.
You want to keep it as consistent as possible. So the other thing that I want to touch upon, Craig, it's related to you bringing up what happens if a team reaches nationals, right? And it is on my understanding, and again, you can correct me, Craig, you have more experience than me on this. So if a team from Northern California, for example, wins, it happened last year for us in the 5-0 league, wins nationals, right? Do you have any idea if that means that because the representative from Northern California was the best USTA league for that 5-0 level, it means people who were at the border of moving up, higher percentage of the people will move up because it's a stronger flight?
Yeah, so not knowing the algorithm and not knowing maybe all the forensics of why we're here, yes, I would calculate that just based on some of the other third-party sites and dynamics that are out there, that yes, those things are weighted. And if USTA NTRP definitions say playoffs are weighted, then yeah, and there's even benchmarks for people who go to playoffs. There's actually a B rating. I don't know if it's used very often anymore, but there's a
Yeah.
benchmark rating,
Yep.
and it might be silent in the background. I'm not sure how it's used, but yeah, and I think that affects all the spider webs of their local league and their section in Northern California or wherever they are. So for sure. And I believe that if a Northern California team wins a 3-5, a 4-0, a 4-5, or 5-0, that there's not going to be too many people who are on the cusp. They're not getting bumped down. So they're going to be staying there. And I do believe that based on membership, meaning that the amount of actual members in 3-0, in 3-5, in 4-0, in 4-5, and in 5-0, and how they do goes back to what you said, Soham. You can't have, oh, maybe there's 300 new members who are 4-5s this year who join USTA. Well, that might not come into play in the ratings, but that's going to be dealt with at the end of the year, right? You can't have 300 more 4-5 players. Some people might move down, some people might get bumped up. They need to keep
Yep.
those numbers manageable in each category. So, there's a lot that comes into play. So, yeah, I think nationals is a big deal. I think how many new members come in, how many members drop out. Um,
Right, right.
I think all those things come into play. And to go back to how we started this conversation with, you said there's, a team might not know they go to nationals at the beginning of the year. I might know some 5-0 teams who definitely know they're going to nationals at the beginning of the
Oh
year
yeah. No,
based
no.
on who they have on their team.
Craig,
So
I think
I'm just saying,
you and
nobody
I
gets this
both
close,
played
but
you and I both played in a league that had a team like that.
just saying.
Yeah.
So
So we have had that experience, and
yes,
what's funny is like again, before we started recording today, we were having a conversation that it's absurd. We have both seen certain national winning teams have players who got bumped down for reasons like I said. Like I think they want to make sure that the percentage of people at certain levels is doesn't have a seismic shift or something. So they want to keep it largely consistent. So it's like 5% of the pool of players in Northern California are going to be 5-0s. 15% maybe, no, 20% maybe 4-5. Probably the biggest distribution is 4-0s, maybe 30%, and then 3-5s and 3-0s. So it's like a normal distribution curve, right? So
Yep. Yep.
but it's still absurd that someone or some people might get bumped down. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. And this is where I want to take the conversation next, Tarun, if you may allow, is we need to really talk about sandbags,
Yep.
because this is I don't want to say this is a problem, but I think it's almost intentional for some teams to recruit and build teams that want to go nationals year after year after year. So Craig, can you tell us a little bit about your experience seeing around you sandbaggers or
yeah,
managing
so
scores?
sure.
Managing ratings and matches.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I definitely have seen the managing of, ratings where, I definitely think there's some managing of the levels on a court, right? And whether I don't we've seen it in maybe in the pros, right? And there's, in the top level 200 to 500, there's a lot of things that are illegal we won't get into here, but there's match fixing, there's betting, there's things that go on that are pretty shady, right?
Yep.
Unfortunately for as beautiful as our tennis universe is, and everybody, 99% of the people are just so awesome and so nice. I mean, there's people out there managing scores, period. And that's not great. And that kind of hurts the altruistic dynamic of the sport we love. And I've seen that happen. I've not necessarily seen the sandbagger deal happen in my exact micro proximity, but I've had clients who will come tell me, "Oh, this lady played in like college and she's at Yale and she is a 4.0 and how does this happen?" I'm like, "Whoa." I was like, "Are you kidding?" And these things actually, I mean, these are happening as of this year, as of 2024. This is stuff that, and it happens every year. I hear these stories from all of my clients, not all my clients, but clients every year. I hear at least one or two stories of a player who played college, and they don't answer the questions the way they should.
Yep.
Which is addressed actually when we look at the ratings, Soham. I don't know if you and Tarun had read the, thank you, Tarun, for supplying the FAQ sheet. But when you read that, are the ratings accurate? And I think the verbatim is yes and no. It's like they're as accurate as they can be, provided that you have people joining the membership honestly, and they answer the questions when they become a member properly. So that if you're a Division 1 or 2 college player, you're basically automatically going to start out at 5.0. Some people don't do that. And then you end up having some lady out there who's, 29, beating up on a whole bunch of 4.5s, and she should be a 5.0 or a 5.5. And it's like, come on. So, I don't necessarily see that in the men's game, but, I hear it a lot from the ladies, and whether that's just, some sort of somebody's version, or if it actually happened, that's just tending to where I hear it from in the ladies' leagues more than the men's leagues. But I see more of the score managing in the men's, a little more subtle. In the ladies, it's just blatant, and it's apparently out there. So I don't know if you guys have heard any stories like that, or seen the managing on the men's side a little bit.
I have, and I don't understand it. I mean, if it was me, I think I understand. Actually, you know what? I don't understand it for myself. I don't think I would ever do such a thing. I just go out there and try to do my best. But I've seen certain people manage scores because there is, frankly speaking, like there is no 5-5 league.
There's no place to play. There'd be no tennis future.
5.0s, a high 5.0 can probably beat a lot of decent 5.0s in straight sets, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they do that, chances are, if they keep doing that consistently during the season, they might get bumped up to 5.5. And there are no 5.5 leagues at the moment. There used to be 5.0 plus, where you can have 5.5s, but right now there are no 5.5 leagues, for example. So what good is it for them if they get bumped up to 5.5? They can really only play tournaments, and maybe they want to play leagues. So I think my guess is certain people manage scores probably to stay at level,
right?
Because otherwise they would lose the opportunity to play. But then the question is it really fun for them to do this, right? Like, I don't think people enjoy doing this. They'd probably want to compete at similar level against opponents at similar level. And one of the reasons I know that they got rid of 5.0 plus league, because I was actually trying to encourage the USTA NorCal to set it up to have it, and there's just not enough teams available. There were like 3 teams and just not enough players, and we didn't end up having it because the worry for USTA NorCal at least is if you have a 5+ league, let's say a team puts a 5.5 rated guy in singles, the the other team, which is a 5-0 team, for example, can have 4-5 play against a 5-5, and that's no fun.
Yeah.
Because players can play up half a level.
Yeah. Full level you can't. Yeah.
Right. So you can have a 5-0 plus league where a 5-5 is playing a 4-5, because clearly some teams know that they can't beat their top singles guy who's like 5-5. So they just sacrifice a line to try to optimize or take advantage.
And then you get all these practices stacking going on. Yeah.
Stacking, exactly. So stacking is major.
Yeah.
So I understand why they don't have it, but it's kind of unfortunate that 5-5s, for example, or I don't even know at a lower level. Maybe there are no 2-5 leagues.
There are some. Yeah, we have some 2-5 ladies leagues for sure.
Okay, great. So I feel bad that there are no 5-5 leagues, but hopefully that changes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about management scores. Now, one thing I did want to mention is grievances.
Yeah.
It's a controversial topic, and I have experienced that, not to any of my players, thankfully, because I don't believe in getting people self-rated who are way too strong and trying to just beat out everybody. When I captain, most of the people I have on my teams are my buddies, right? They may not be the best of the best players, but they're my good friends, and we like to compete. We may not always win, right? That's my recruitment style. Everybody has their own style. Some people, they want to have like super strong players, sandbagging players, and they just want to win everything, and this is not fun, right? So I have seen instances of grievances where captains take it a bit too seriously, maybe, and they're trying to make sure that another team is not getting away with fielding a player who's just too strong for their level. I don't know, Craig or Tarun, if you guys have experienced any of this, but it's kind of common.
Yeah. So if I've experienced it, I've been obtuse to it for the most part, because I try to take people on their, you want your best against your best, at least for me, right? When I captain teams, I put my 1 at 1, my 2 at 2, and my 3 at 3, and and that's I have some friends who actually play over in Europe sometimes, and the European club system for recreational tennis at our level, they force you into, so they have dynamic rating. And let's say Soham, Tarun, and I are on a team, and Tarun is a 4.83 and Soham's a 4.81 and I'm a 4.79. Well, Tarun has to play 1 that day, Soham has to play 2 that day, and I have to play 3 that day. And in a month, if that changes, that's great, but you don't get a choice as a captain. That's just the club, that league, that system, whatever it is. In this particular instance, it was a German club system that I was talking to a friend about, and he said it's just super systematic, super detailed. It's just a great environment. You're going up mano and mano, digging in the dirt, the best against the best at level. You're playing the best person you should be playing against. And that to me just says it all. So that's the way I would like to see our system here, where you print out a sheet of your lineup and it has that dynamic rating of this is what Soham's rating is, and this is the top rating on our team of the players we have available. So you're playing the top rated person on this team, and here's my list of players.
So they actually do this in junior team tennis. So I wonder why NTRP. Maybe we should, if anybody from USTA and NorCal is listening, we'd love to have you have a conversation on this.
Yeah, sounds like they do it a lot of other places than just here. So that would be nice.
Yeah.
So to get back to that side note about stacking, though I've never seen it, like I said, in person, it's talked about not only just in men's 5-0, it's like in rampant in like women's 3-0. It's just great. Like I'm giving lessons. I'm like, what is happening? I was like, well, why don't you? It's just winning has become,
Yeah.
it's just when you open the show with just discussing about, you don't worry about ratings, play your best, trust the process.
Yeah.
That's kind of like why we all join tennis to begin with.
Yeah.
It's you're out there on a court just all by yourself trying to figure it out and arm wrestling to the win or loss. And then you go back and try again the next week or the next day. And yeah, there's been a curve to shortcuts and winning and manipulating. And, I think that's a life microcosm that has crept into
Yes.
tennis.
Yes. Well said.
That
Yeah.
I think, maybe some of us need to, Ernest Hemingway has a quote: "The world is a fine place and it's worth fighting for." And we need to keep fighting in tennis to try to keep these things fair and square and win and lose by our own process. And hopefully it comes out that way in the end.
It's funny, you say all that. First of all, that's a great quote. Hemingway, great. I loved Hemingway. Actually, the way I recruit as a captain, honestly, like I already mentioned earlier, is I want a bunch of my buddies on my team. I don't really care about what their ratings are. I just want to have a good time. And uh, to me, league tennis is not individual. It's more, we are more of a team. So having good camaraderie um, is the most important thing. Enjoying as a team, winning or losing. The way I have it right now, the way we're running the team right now, at least, is hey, this combo season, we have very few 5-0s. It's a 9-5 combo, by the way, which means you play a 5-0 and a 4-5 pair. And we have very few 5-0s, a bunch of 4-5s, and the 4-5s are playing most, and they're beating 5-0s. 4-5 and a 4-5 is beating a 5-0 and a 4-5 because they just have great chemistry, right? And when we lose, we still celebrate with dinners. When we win, we still celebrate with dinners. So that is more important at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yep.
And people should, it's just a general advice to all my buddies out there, whoever is listening also, is, let the ratings take care of itself. Just work hard on court, prepare well, figure out what what you can improve on, and focus on growth. Keep working hard, be honest with yourself, enjoy the game, enjoy the vibe when you're out there, whether it's singles or doubles, and don't worry so much about ratings. It's it's a bit toxic for you to keep worrying about ratings or whether you're going to move up. Oh no, my world is going to end if I don't move up, or if I move down. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Just enjoy the game, and that's really my 2 cents on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. That is something that we can all agree on without any speculation, for sure. Yep. With that, I think this has been a great discussion. I think we really went deep into this topic, so many different aspects, singles, doubles, whether there is extra weightage given to postseason matches. It's an amazing topic. I hope we were able to get the message across about ratings. So again, I would like to close on two main points. If anybody from USTA NorCal or anybody, captains who are very well aware of the system, maybe game the system too, or have extra details or would like to have a deeper discussion, we'd be happy to have you on the podcast in a future episode. And of course, the UST officials as well, who are in charge of rating, who maybe want to explain the system better to others, and to enlighten everybody. And yeah, that's about it. So we come to a close. We'll try to close this episode now. Again, at Tennishackery is our social media handle, at Tennishackery with a Y. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, X. The video version will go up on YouTube. The audio version goes to Spotify. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. these things really help us increase our reach and drive future content. Thank you very much, Craig and Soham, for being a part of this amazing discussion. And yeah,
Thanks,
maybe
thanks, Tarun, for being a fantastic moderator, and we really appreciate all the things that you do every episode with all your marketing spiel. And I just want to make sure that I appreciate all that. You know, sometimes it's dirty job.
nah, man, it's
But
all cool, you know.
It's fun. And final thought from my end, at least, and then Craig, you can say a sentence or two, is guys, ratings are coming out in 2 weeks. Don't stress out too much about it. If you move up, congratulations in advance. I think you deserved it. If you stay at, enjoy next year, whatever you play, you know, you did enough to stay there. If you move down, don't be upset about it. Just work harder if you want to move up, and you'll get there, you know. Just trust the process. And good luck to everybody in a couple of weeks' time. And Craig, anything you want to say to sign off?
Same, you know, USTA, if you have an algorithm, share it. The people want it. They love it. We love our little desperate housewives looking up on the internet. You don't have to worry about erasing your browser history for tennisrecords.com. Just embrace it. Let it all out there for everyone to see. It'll be okay.
And most of all, don't go too wild during the rating parties.
Yes.
Stay safe, guys.
Be careful at your local rating party for sure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.